All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ, over there on the West Coast. My good friend, 49ers Hub, Twitter instigator himself, Evan Sowards. Evan, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's going on?
I'm feeling pretty good. My wife was cracking up. I showed her the swords conversation from last week, and 2 weeks ago, yes, now, and she was a fan.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
We all have our own brain. You got to laugh at yourself, folks, and that's one of those where I'm laughing at myself. And also here, good friend of the pod here, and one of the best NFL writers going right now. It's JP Acosta of SB Nation. JP, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to talk some more football with y'all.
We do have some football to talk about. And I think when I was thinking about like how to outline this particular episode, and the NFL draft has concluded, and I figured we'd just go one at a time through all 7 rounds. We'll just go one, and we'll spend 5 to 7 minutes per player and really grind this tape and really give the listeners the full throttle analysis they come to the Chase Thomas Podcast for. Now, what I think would be more interesting here to kick things off is like all of our teams, I think, had very different kinds of drafts. Like the Niners, for instance, didn't pick until the 3rd round, and then they took a kicker. And then you have
you're just letting it all out right now. You're not even gonna let me enjoy talking about it first, huh?
I'm sorry.
The kicker's
I'm just setting the scene here.
A very good kicker.
Very good kicker.
I will fly all the way to Florida right now.
I can't wait for the puns though. When he's like people are gonna just be like, "How is Jake on the sidelines before this game-winning kick?" Some might say he's a little moody.
Yeah, you're making this worse. I'm not in. Yeah, let's go.
Well, let's start off with the Niners because there's been a lot of discourse about the Falcons draft, and I think the Jaguars, 95% of football fans don't know who they took because it feels like the Jags didn't take any notable names, where some teams like just notable name. Like the Lions, for instance, it's like everyone who was getting picked there because they were all top 50-ish players on Daniel Jeremiah's mock or big board. They just took them in really weird spots. But Evan, your team, like we said at the top here, did not have a pick because of the Trey Lance and Christian McCaffrey trades over the last couple of years in the first 2 rounds. They take a kicker. What were your thoughts as draft weekend was unfolding for you as a Niners fan? Did they do well? What was the biggest issue you had with this class, and what was the thing that you liked the most?
So we are a podcast that is obviously on YouTube. So for those that want to see it on YouTube, the clip is there. I suggested Googling it yourself, but I'm going to play the audio right here of good friend of the pod, Trevor Sikkema, and obviously Connor Rogers from the NFL Stock Exchange podcast and YouTube show. Their words encapsulate pretty perfectly how I felt about this situation, and I think it's just best if we just from the beginning. There'll be video, but why not?
I see this is the one where Niners fans are like, yeah, we agree. Like most fans hate when you give their team a bad draft grade, and I get it. This draft stunk. This draft sucked, and it doesn't apply logic. It doesn't apply any logic.
Yeah, so I understand how you can look at the 49ers moves here and you can be positive, right? You can go, I see how the 49ers looked at a lot of their kind of like role players, maybe second string type players who have contracts coming up. And they're like, let's all replace them, right? The Jimmy Ward, the losing Jimmy Ward in free agency, having Jair Brown is probably going to be how you replace that. They were losing Robbie Gould, who, by the way, it's officially on site. If I ever see Robbie Gould's old bald ass, I will fight him. He did this to us. It's his fault.
Leave us bald men alone.
You have hair up there still, all right?
I mean,
and I'm not exactly killing it in the hairline game myself. But
I feel like that's just your hair, though. I feel like you've had the exact same hair for the 5 years I've known you now.
100%. It's the only thing my grandpa ever gave me was his hairline.
Okay.
But yeah, no, like all jokes aside, right?
You're gonna kill JP by the end of this podcast.
I do understand how the 49ers go, okay, we need a kicker. And, you know, in the beginning of the draft, as the draft was going on, a lot of us were like, why would you ever use a 3rd round pick? But as the draft went on, 2 more kickers got taken by the 5th round. Obviously, the Niners did actually have to do what they did to get Moody. That is who they thought is the best kicker in the draft, maybe one of the best kickers drafted in recent memory. Time will tell. If Moody is the type of kicker that goes on to make, you know, playoff winning kicks, I don't think anybody's going to care. But right now, there were a lot of really talented players still available by the time the 49ers drafted Jake Moody. And I don't know if I'll be able to get over it that much until then. I don't think if you look at the history of drafting an NFL kicker, the highest you ever really see it is maybe the 4th round, more like the 5th round. It doesn't happen often. The last time a kicker went high, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers watched one of the worst picks of all time. And I don't remember how to pronounce his last name. Roberto Aguayo, right? I know the guy in Florida remembers that all too well.
Well, he's a Florida State fan too, and I think he was an FSU guy, right? Wasn't he? Yeah,
right. And we're hoping that doesn't happen with Jake Moody. You know, but like it's hard, right? It's hard to not have a first round pick in the first 2, you know, first round pick or the second round pick. It's hard to have the reason why you don't have a first round pick be because of a quarterback that this week was talked in detail about how no one on the 49ers seems to want him and they're just looking to trade him. Who knows if that's true? But having all of those things culminate and then at the end of it, you draft a kicker in the 3rd round is tough. It's a tough sell. So it is one of those things, like I said, if he plays well, we'll probably forget it very quickly. Outside of that, you know, I'm excited always for them to draft a tight end. I'm glad that they did with pick 101. A lot of people talked about Cameron Latu out of Alabama as someone that they might have been able to get a little bit later, or maybe have drafted someone at the tight end position that could be more, you know, a little better. He's not exactly the wild athlete that George Kittle was coming out of the draft. I think, you know, obviously JP is probably the better person to talk about the pre-draft process and whoever they are as prospects. But, you know, Cameron Latu seems like a guy that can catch touchdowns and block. Darrell Luter Jr., South Alabama. I found out when we announced that pick that South Alabama has only been a university since 2009. There have been only 7 people to enter the NFL through the draft.
They're on the way up, though. Kane Womack's got that program cooking down there in Mobile.
Yeah. And so as someone that is very uninitiated myself, as I am in the college football world, that was terrifying until I kind of started to figure out those details. But, you know, it sounds like he's an interesting prospect. I like the idea of, you know, the linebacker D Winters out of TCU. He is fast. A lot of these players you saw are very fast, you know, really high scores when it comes to agility, speed, movement, all the above. You know, Ronnie Bell was a wide receiver in the 7th, something that Kyle Shanahan's very used to doing. Can
we pause there for a second, JP, too? Because when I saw Ronnie Bell go that late, isn't it weird as college football fans too that this guy was just Evan? He was a highly sought after recruit and someone that Michigan fans thought was going to blow up and just be a superstar wideout in Ann Arbor, and it just never. He just completely fell off the map. And seeing him go that late is just kind of wild. I don't know if you had that same thing, JP.
Well, yeah. So what I was gonna say, because I want to be, you know, I wanted to like essentially go, okay, that was my initial thoughts, but JP, you know, this is your world. I would love to have your like, you know, your overall thoughts on the 49ers draft from like a prospect perspective.
Yeah. So I think the Niners drafted guys who are like, they are 49er type players. I think Robert Beal, edge out of Georgia, he is not one of the superstar Georgia players, but he fits what they really like, which is getting off the ball, long, strong, get off. That's That's the type of guy you're getting in Robert Beal. Love the winner's pick for them. I think he is going to fill the depth linebacker role really well, could potentially be a starter. He's fast. I worry a little bit about his coverage, but I mean, he's fast. He can get to the ball. You can teach him how to cover. Cameron Latu is very, very reliable. That he's not going to wow you. He's gonna make like 3-4 yard catches. He's gonna be good in the red zone because everybody's gonna forget he's on the field. And
he was also Bryce's only reliable target last year. I don't think people understand just how bad the Alabama receivers were, and it was just him. Like Latu was saving Bryce a lot of games.
He was who Bryce Young trusted in that offense. All the passes, all the crazy stuff that was going to Latu.
Yeah,
Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think Jair Brown is good. I think he's a really, really good football player. I think he can be a guy who could potentially be the safety next to Fanga. Could have him playing deep. You could have him coming closer to the line of scrimmage, playing around the ball. And like I said, Jake Moody's really good. I don't know if I would have used a 3rd-round pick on Jake Moody, but it just feels like the Niners drafted towards guys that fit their types, especially on defense. But then when you look at their roster, you see the big, big gaping hole at right tackle, and you wonder, like, hey, what's going to happen here? It feels like something you could have addressed in this draft.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that I'm really curious about. It's like they do have players there that they think could potentially play at that spot. And they have, they spent some offensive line picks in the last couple of years that they have players that I think they can plug and play.
But you don't have a right tackle right now, right? McGlinchey's gone. Who are you plugging in there? That Colton guy? What's his name?
Brendel? Or Colton McKivitz?
Colton McKivitz, yeah.
Yeah, so, and this is what I will say when it comes to the offensive line. Since Kyle Shanahan joined the 49ers fans, including me, have been terrified at what was going on at the offensive line outside of Trent Williams. Always terrified. Always. Every single time. I'm like, there's no way this works out. It always works out. So until it doesn't at this point, especially while Trent Williams is shoring up that left tackle position, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm more worried about the quarterback situation than I am the offensive line situation.
Yeah, that's really going to be been the biggest question for the Niners since 2016.
And so this is my parting words for the 49ers situation and my biggest concern overall. This week, Ian Rappaport said that the 49ers could not that it's insider notion. Maybe it is. I don't know if it's an agent saying this. I don't know if it's a team representative. Someone is talking to Ian and saying that the 49ers could be open to trading Trey Lance because they feel like he might be a waste of resources and it might be worth more to get something for him than he, potentially. And this is where Ian said, than him potentially being the 3rd string quarterback behind Sam Darnold. So I don't know what is there, right? Who knows? That could be the 49ers wanting to just put the word out to see if they get trade offers. That could be Trey's agent trying to
But that makes it worse for him, right? That he might be coming in behind Sam Darnold. I don't know how that helps his trade value.
Right. Once again, I'm not saying I know, but I'm saying there are a multitude of variables. There are multitude of possibilities. But what I do know is I don't think the 49ers would allow that verbiage to go out if they were not open to trading Trey Lance. And the idea of trading Trey Lance has been discussed ad nauseum for the last 6 months. I do think the 49ers are ready to move on from Trey Lance logically, just looking at the overall picture, not inside sources. I just think that's going to happen. Now, assume that's going to happen, right? You don't draft a quarterback. As of right now, they have not signed an undrafted free agent.
Also, why would you not do that before the draft?
You don't. But
yeah.
Hold on. You don't draft a quarterback. You don't sign one as an undrafted free agent. As of yet, I still haven't seen it. I think they're done, but we'll see. You bring in Sam Darnold, who in multiple situations, multiple teams, multiple coaches, multiple weapons, has done very poorly. Recently having an incredible game where he threw 5 for 15 in an individual game as a passing quarterback in the NFL. Sam Darnold is trash. I don't care. He is one of those quarterbacks where you keep going, oh, but maybe, no, he's bad. So Kyle loves him because they both wear melon hats and Aruka t-shirts and whatever little, San Diego bro vibe stuff that they like to wear. I don't know. Maybe it's because they both have Crocs that they like to wear together. I don't know what it is.
Crocs are pretty comfortable, though.
They dress very similarly. They talk very similarly. Kyle was super excited to see Sam come in, gave him a little bro handshake. Fine. Brock Purdy ripped his elbow in half. Sure. Brock Purdy looked really good at last year in the 5, 6, 7 games he played. At any given time, he literally looked like the best quarterback in the NFL at times, other than Patrick Mahomes. And I believe that. But he ripped his elbow in half. And
this is why you do Trey Lance for Kirk Cousins. And why that's ultimately what happens here.
What is the upside to
But no. You know what the upside is? Is a quarterback that's not injured. Because right now all you have is an injured quarterback, Trey Lance, who's fully cleared to practice, but they apparently want to get rid of, and Sam Darnold, who, by the way, I've called Sam Bradford multiple occasions because to me they're the same quarterback. One's younger.
Bradford, I think, it slept on a little bit.
Bradford had a better career, but it was the same thing. He just kept going to new situations.
People hated Sam because he was the last guy to get paid, really. He was in that, and he started off in the Pat Shurmur offense. He just never got a fair shake.
I just think it's insane to me that the 49ers have maybe the best roster in the NFL currently, outside of maybe the Eagles have a really good roster. Obviously the Chiefs, they have an incredible roster, and their quarterback situation is literally it's a garbage can full of trash on fire in a dumpster on fire.
But I like that, Evan. I like it because, and look, hold on. Let me just say why I like it. And this goes back to the Falcons, where I like the diversity across the NFL. I like that the Niners are like, what if we could win a Super Bowl without a quarterback? Are we sure we can't just do Debo and Christian McCaffrey just alternating in the gun and seeing what we can do there? Are we certain we can't win a Super Bowl with a Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback? Are we certain we can't do it with just rejuvenating Sam Darnold out of thin air after everyone else had left him for dead? I like that they've built this perfect roster where all they're missing is the most important ingredient that every NFL team would prefer to have. And they're just like, we find it. It's fine. I like that. It's a different thing. I want to see if it works.
I think there is an untapped level of where this offense can go that can possibly be found with Trey Lance at quarterback.
Yeah.
I still think if the quarterback competition is going to be open, as open as John Lynch says it's going to be when Brock Purdy gets healthy, when all three quarterbacks are in camp, Trey Lance should win. If we're basing it off of what we believe Trey Lance to be, he should win that job. Of course, if he's not, then you trade him after this season. But it's just, I know Brock Purdy played very well last season. I just also think there's going to come I don't know.
Can we say he's carrying himself like a guy who thinks he's been told he's the starting quarterback for the Niners for the next 10 years? I've watched some interviews with him, and he's doing a lot of podcasts and doing a lot. It strikes me as someone who's like, oh, I'm the starting quarterback at the San Francisco 49ers.
But he has been told that. He's been told that. Not only has he been told that, but they're actively trying to get rid of Trey Lance. Trey Lance isn't talked about in any videos. They posted videos about Brock Purdy getting the call during the draft, and it wasn't until the next day that they decided to post something about Trey Lance, because people were literally adding the 49ers going, why have you not posted Trey Lance videos? What is this? As a guy who watched the 49ers very much go, we no longer want anything to do with Colin Kaepernick, and then go, we no longer want anything to do with Jimmy Garoppolo. I would have to be so blind to not be able to see what's happening with Trey Lance. They're doing the same thing. They don't want him there anymore.
What if would you do Trey Lance for Chase Young?
Dog, I would do anything for Trey Lance because he's leaving. Like you take what you can get because he's leaving. What I want as a fan is I want Trey Lance starting week 1. It's an insane thing to me that Kyle Shanahan has been able to get the stats out of CJ Beathard and Brian Hoyer and Nick Mullins, and even, seeing what he's done with Jimmy and then what he did with Brock Purdy. It's an insane thing to me that you have someone like Trey Lance, as athletic as he is, and you don't want to try.
It's almost like a curse that he's such a good offensive mind that he knows that he can win with anybody. Like, I think it's almost a curse for him.
But like, he wants to do that. I don't think he wants to just say, I can win with anybody. That's why he's good enough to get Trey Lance.
Tell me his actions. For all intents and purposes, he might have been the one that, it's talked about that he wanted Mac Jones. They traded up, yeah, but it doesn't guarantee that Kyle was the one that said Trey Lance. They joked about, Kyle was writing plays on the plane on the way home. And then when he finally got to play Trey Lance, he just ran him up the middle, QB power. So I don't really buy.
That could also be fun, by the way. Trey Lance in New England. Remember, Bill wanted Lamar Jackson. There was some Lamar Jackson Patriot stuff. You put Trey Lance in New England, ship him back across the country. Like, I don't know. That could be interesting. Now, Mac Jones in San Francisco, like, would he be average enough to get you back to the Super Bowl? Probably. Like, I don't know.
I just
feels like they're going to keep trying to make these lateral moves.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how you literally have right now, you have the window. Brock Purdy needs to heal. It's not even guaranteed yet that he's going to be ready by week 4 or whatever. So, like, you have a window where you can play Trey Lance, right? And you can give him – do you remember how long we talked about how Kyle Shanahan was giving this, like, rudimentary basic offense to Jimmy, and how he was, like, essentially how come he can't get – like, Trey Lance can't get the Jimmy G offense? Like, why can't they just run the ball and give him quick, easy passes just so that they can, like, up his trade value? How is it that we're not even doing that? Now, granted, maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe that's what Kyle's doing right now, and they just want to get the word out about Trey in the meantime. But as a 49ers fan, like, I feel like I'm the only person that's outwardly, like, saying, you have a Super Bowl roster and you traded 3 first-round picks, wasted 3 first-round picks on a quarterback you're ready to give up on year 3. Who's getting fired for that?
Like, you have to wonder what happened for them to sour on Trey Lance so quickly. It can't be what happened during games. He's only played in, like, what, 4? I'm not even going to say 4 games. It's like 2.5, because the first 2 this season were in a monsoon, and the other one he got hurt in. What have you seen that you can be like, yeah, we're just going to move on from this? Because we haven't even seen Trey Lance in the offense with Christian McCaffrey. Like, we haven't seen Trey Lance in that offense yet. You at least need to get a look at what it could be like before you need to exhaust all your options.
I'm curious to see what ultimately happens here. Speaking of exhausting all of your options, Arthur Smith has exhausted all of his running back options here in Atlanta because he added another one in the first round, and Bijan Robinson, who I talked myself into Bijan this week. I did. I'm going to be brutally honest, where I was out on this. I'm not going to pretend that I was all Bijan from the beginning of draft season for the Falcons at 8. That being said, when I just thought about, like, I watched some high school tape of Bijan, which was fantastic. I watched a lot of college stuff because I didn't watch every Texas game. The fake UT. I'm over here at the real UT here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And it's just going to be fun. Life's short, guys. Like, that was something I thought about, where I'm just like, this is what Arthur Smith wants to do. This is the identity he wants to build. Tyler Algier was awesome down the stretch. You drafted a tackle from Syracuse. He's going to play guard. He's going to kick ass, probably. Like, this offensive line's going to be really good. Drake London's going to be good again. You hope Kyle Pitts is healthy. Like, I'm concerned that Scotty Miller's right now the starting slot for the Falcons if the season started today. I'm concerned they didn't really address the wide receiver position a little bit more, some more firepower. But also, I think this is just it. I think he's just leaning into this really, like, I'm not going to say the 49ers, Evan, because they don't have the defense that the 49ers have. But they are betting on this trend now. I think I don't know if it becomes a trend. How many more teams have to follow this? But the trend of like, if you don't have the elite quarterback, and I don't think Atlanta or San Francisco has that guy, you lean into something else, which is this league can't tackle. And we are going to put a bunch of guys in the field who are a pain in the ass to tackle. And there are going to be sets where Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson and Bijan Robinson are all on the field together. And it is going to slap. It is going to be a pain. And I have just completely bought into that line of thinking of let's see what happens when teams have to tackle well to beat the Falcons. And the Falcons are going to succeed late in games because I think they're going to be able to sit on leads. I think they're going to be able to win a lot of football games this year because they're going to be conservative, because they're just going to ground and pound and bet on we're going to out physical you. We're going to Bijan and Tyler Algier are just fundamentally two different guys. Even Cordero, who just like shoots through the hole at age I don't even know how old Cordero is now, but like the way he shoots the gap is just crazy for his age. And he runs with force. And then you just sub in Bijan right after, who's just unbelievable at evading tackles in a completely different way. I think it's going to work, and I think they're the favorites in the NFC South. So I've talked my way into all of that. Is that okay, JP? Is that okay?
Favorites in the NFC South, I'm going to hold off on that. But one thing that I really think the Falcons are doing, and it's something I'm going to talk about with the Jaguars as well, is I think the point where the NFL is at is with all these teams getting lighter and lighter on the defensive side of the ball to stop the pass, we're going to see teams lean into the run game a whole lot more. We saw it in Detroit with the Lions this past year, leaning into the run game, making things easier for Jared Goff. We saw it in Atlanta with them just basically running the ball and keeping it away from Marcus Mariota and making sure he nor Desmond Ridder makes a mistake. I think that's where they're headed with Bijan Robinson. Look, man, Bijan Robinson's really fucking good. He's really good. Every metric that you can use to say, hey, don't draft this running back in the first round because, his yards after contact is bad. Bijan's yards after contact is great. He's also a really good receiver. You can have him on the field at the same time with Algier. You can do 22 personnel with him, Algier. You can have Pitts and Jonnu Smith on the field with Drake London. They're so versatile on offense. So I get why, and I like the idea of having Bijan in that offense. Really, I'm just worried about the quarterback. And I'm going to keep coming back to that.
Well, hold on. He flipped to number 9, his college number. It's new Des, who this, and that's just where we're at. He's back to number 9.
And I also think I still need to see it from that defense. It's going to be the first year under a new coordinator. I still think they need a guy on the edge to complement Grady Jarrett. Caden Ellis maybe could be
Calais Campbell.
I don't know what you're going to get from Calais Campbell at this age.
Well, hold on. If there's one thing the Falcons do well, it's not develop pass rushers. It's sign them right at the end of their career, like the John Abrahams of the world, the Dwight Freeneys. That's what our bread and butter is on the pass rush. I think Calais Campbell's going to be awesome. That's the one thing the Falcons are great at, getting guys right before they retire and kick ass, and then that's it.
Yeah, so I have a few questions about Atlanta, whether it be like, hey, is Jeff Okudah going to be we're going to see what happens with Jeff Okudah, because then like you're going to wonder like, hey, we passed up on Chris Gonzalez and Jeff Okudah stinks. But Bijan in the offense is going to be very fun to watch.
Clark Phillips, I think, will be fun too. The Utah corner, he's a playmaker. I think he's going to be fun.
He's a baller. Forget about the height, the size. You put him in the slot, that's a ball player. He's very much reminiscent of Mike Hilton. Clark Phillips is a little bigger, but they play the same way. He has great ball skills. He's going to be a lock in the slot.
There you go. Oh, last one for our teams, guys. The Jaguars, JP. This is going to bring in Evan. Did their draft remind you of any Trent Baalke legendary drafts and what he liked, Evan? Because this was very defense heavy, I think by and large here for the Jags. And I look at their wide receiver room and their offensive line, and we can talk about how Cam Robinson might factor into what the Jaguars did over the last week. But JP, what did you see from Jacksonville and what Trent Baalke did in draft number 2 for the Jaguars?
So we know what this team is going to be this year. They're going to once again be brutally efficient. I think of a team that's not going to try and win feast or famine deep balls, kind of like the Bills that are always going to try and like, hey, we have the superstar quarterback. We're going to throw it deep all the time. And if that doesn't work, then this offense is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
The Jaguars are going to be built on 5 to 8 yard completions, 5 to 8 yard plays. You're not going to try and go for the big play every time. Sure, they're going to take it if it's given to them, but they're going to be extremely efficient. They're going to try and run the ball a whole lot better, especially in the red zone. The Jaguars were terrible in the red zone last year. So that's why you go and get Anton Harrison, who is going to be 21, I think, when the season starts. Maybe 20 when the season starts. He's real young. You can play him at right tackle and Walker Little at left while Cam Robinson is suspended. When Cam comes back, you're going to have that conversation. You'll see what happens there, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anton Harrison is very good, and he's still very young. There's a long runway for him to improve. He's, like I said, he's 20 years old. There's a lot of runway there. Love Tank Bigsby. Love Tank Bigsby as the complement to Travis Etienne. It's a guy who's not going to go down on first contact. Not the home run hitter, but he'll get you singles and doubles. He's going to eat in the red zone. Brenton Strange, I was not on board with Brenton Strange at first. Was not. I was like, they draft because Darnell Washington was available and they took Brenton Strange, and I was like, oh no, this is going to be Trent Baalke breaking my heart. But when you think about where the Jaguars were bad, they were bad in the red zone. They couldn't block. They couldn't execute in the red zone. You get Brenton Strange, who can block, and he can be pretty good as a move tight end where you get him into the flats. That's going to be his job. You want this whole draft was built on them being more efficient. That's why I see when you draft an offensive lineman, you draft another running back, you draft a tight end who can block really well. They want to be more efficient in those short area yards, and that's really helpful. I think defense-wise, you drafted a bunch. You had to draft a bunch of nickels, and you can see who works out there. I think Antonio Johnson is going to be pretty good. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but he's going to be really fun to watch in this defense. But I'm on board with it right now because I can see what they're trying to do. I can see the vision for what's happening, what they want to be this year.
I mean, they just went out and got some football players. Huh? You know what I mean? Like those are just. I was watching the highlights like from their like little draft recap, and those guys. You got to imagine that he had a lot of fun watching the Penn State tape, though, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I tweeted the video of this wrestler Big E talking about big men with big chests bumping meat.
I love that bumping meat.
That is exactly what the Jaguars offense is going to be. Bumping meat, and oh yeah, we have this quarterback behind us who can absolutely kill you in the intermediate and the deep areas of the field. They're going to be built like I'm not going to say like they're 1-to-1 comparison, but they kind of remind me of Dallas last year on offense, because Dallas last year was extremely efficient. They did not have many explosives, but at their best, they were just killing teams with 6-yard completions every time down the field. And then, if you sleep, Dak was able to hit the ball over the top, just like Trevor Lawrence. I think that's what this offense is going to be. It's going to be brutally efficient. They're going to be grinding people in the run game. And then, of course, we have Trevor Lawrence. So if you try and load up to stop that or stop the short passes, we'll just hit one over the top on you. So I see the vision. I see what's happening here, and I kind of like it.
And also, suddenly, the AFC South is kind of spicy over the next couple of years because you get Anthony Richardson in this division now. You get Will Levis in this division now. And you obviously get CJ Stroud. So, I mean, I wouldn't say any of those three I would bet on to be better than Trevor Lawrence at any point in their careers. But I think Anthony Richardson probably the highest upside potentially. Lowest floor there being Will Levis in Tennessee. I don't really know what Tennessee. I think they're headed for the gutter for the next couple. I think for a while things are going to get pretty ugly in Tennessee.
Is a few years away. They are a few years away. If you look at that receiver room, it is Treylon Burks and
Westbrook and
Treylon Burks.
Yeah, all the dudes. Chig Okonkwo, the tight end, could be very fun. That's a guy who I think could break out this season, but he's going to have a lot of passes thrown his way because there's nobody else to throw the ball to. So I think the Titans are a few years away. Texans also could probably be a few years away. Love CJ Stroud. Love Will Anderson. That was my top player on this draft board this season, and the Texans got both of them. The Colts are very, very interesting. I loved their draft. I love what they did. I love getting Anthony Richardson because he is the perfect fit for what you think a Shane Steichen offense will be if you base it on what it looked like in Philadelphia. You think about a quarterback like Jalen Hurts and how he was able to raise the floor of the Eagles offense with his run game, and then through his development as a passer, it also raised the ceiling. You think about Anthony Richardson, you know what he can do off rip. He's 6'4", 245 pounds, and runs like a gazelle. He raises the floor immediately with his run game. I don't think he's going to take a seat on the bench to start. I think he's starting week 1 because, like I said, he can add to your team in the run game. The run game with him and Jonathan Taylor in the backfield is going to be very fun. And then you let him learn. Let him get reps, as many reps as possible. And he could potentially be real, real good. Outside of that, love Josh Downs. I think he's a great complement to what Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce do. Offensively, he's a smaller receiver, shiftier, got real good hands, real good catch rate. And then later in the draft, they just added dudes who are great athletes. Julius Brents in round 2 is a very Gus Bradley type corner, 6'3", 198, long arms, physical, willing and able tackler. He's going to fit in great in Indy. They got both of my Northwestern players, Adetomiwa Adibare and Evan Hull. Feel really bad because now they're in Indianapolis and I have to act like they don't exist because they're cold now. But those are both could be really fun in their on their team. They had a really good draft. I'm excited to see what they do.
There you go. Hey, Evan, did you like that or think it was kind of cool that the Lions went against the grain and how they drafted?
Hell no.
No?
Why?
I think it was fun. I like it.
I'm so tired of it.
You didn't like it?
No.
Why?
Because the Lions, if everyone is, maybe a little not as well versed, right? The Lions, for the first time in a very long time, do not have a Hall of Fame quarterback to play against in Green Bay, unless
they had an opportunity to draft their own in Hooker.
But so you have the opportunity, and you take a running back. You had a good one. Like, I don't know. I always joke.
They couldn't shake that DeAndre Swift tape. Remember the first game against the Bears at home where he cost them the game late? What did he do in the end zone? Did he drop the pass?
He in both his hands.
Listen, man, I've been joking for a long time about how the Lions cannot figure out the running back situation, and then I thought that they finally did. Especially with the it was not Jamal Williams. It was
Jamal Williams, right?
Jamal Williams, the receiver, right? He gets just
Jamison Williams.
Jamison, sorry,
yes,
not Jamal.
Well, there was, but yeah,
but Jamison Williams gets. He's getting suspended for 6 months, right? What is it?
No, he's got. Did he get 4 games?
He got 6.
He got 6, and then
So I don't know if maybe they were like, God, we might need to go offense here because of that. I don't know what their thought process was. Maybe they knew they could get rid of Swift, but when you have the opportunity to finally take care of the division, and your first thought is, well, we should probably draft a running back in the first round. I just don't get it. So.
They got it because they were celebrating harder than any other front office after every pick. They were all in.
But dude, how many times did how much was the Giants celebrating when they drafted Saquon Barkley?
It wasn't really close to when they drafted Jalen Hyatt, who is him with a capital H.
But my point is like you're always hyped. Everybody. I think everyone probably saw what Christian McCaffrey did last year for the 49ers. And they're like, we need that, right? Because the 2 running backs that we're taking in the first round are very athletic running back. It's a stupid thing to say, athletic running back, but like, you know what I mean? Like, they're very athletic running backs, and so I don't know what their thought process was there, but I just want to see. I have it with good intentions. I want the Lions to succeed. I want them to be good. I want ankle biting head coach of theirs to win some football games and win the division. I don't want the Bears to win the division, although I do love Justin Fields.
That's a huge jump. The Bears aren't winning the division. They're not going 3.
But my point is like the Packers finally are. They don't have a Hall of Fame.
Packers might be good.
Okay, relax, dude. You are very optimistic about teams that you shouldn't be optimistic about.
I was going to say, the Cowboys are the favorites in the NFC right now.
Right? Yeah. How did that work last year?
They're still the favorites in the NFC right now. Best offense in the in the NFC.
Yeah, in the regular season kings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be the one to say it, kind of like the Lions draft.
There you go, JP. There you go.
Let me explain why. All right, so
start off with Hendon Hooker in the third round. Great value.
With the Falcons, and how the NFL is getting more into we need to run the ball more effectively against these teams with lighter boxes so you can create this conflict to bring another guy into the box because these guys are getting a lot smaller, playing a lot lighter boxes. Detroit leaned into that heavily, almost made the playoffs. DeAndre Swift is not that good. I do not think DeAndre Swift is that good. His vision is not necessary. His vision is not required or not. It's not up to the requirement of what the Lions need in that offense. There were multiple times last year where he was just bouncing everything to the outside. I'm like, dude, just follow Penei Sewell and you'll get 15 yards. Montgomery signed a 3-year, $30 million deal. That's not stopping you from drafting a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, who has great vision, speed. He can be effective in the passing game. He is going to elevate that offense. So I understand why they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. I get it. Jack Campbell, initially I hated both of these picks. But then I started thinking about it more, and I'm like, you know what? I start to see it. It makes sense because think about where NFL teams want to beat you offensively over the middle of the field. Why was the Niners defense so good? Because they were able to take away the middle of the field. I'm not saying Jack Campbell's going to be Fred Warner or Dre Green, but you can see what the Lions are trying to do. They want to take away those easy completions, easy routes over the middle of the field. The Lions were terrible in defending the run, mainly because Alex Anzalone was not that good. I get it. I see what they're doing. And then on day 2, they went and added Brian Branch, who I thought was a first-round lock. You go and have him. You have a more versatile secondary with him and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You have a guy like Broderick Martin from West Kentucky, can be your run-stopping nose tackle. And then you add Hendon Hooker. I mean, he's not going to play this year, but this is just a swing. Like, hey, if Jared Goff wants out next year, we don't have to say, oh, we desperately need a quarterback. Like, we can ride out with Hendon Hooker, see what we got, and then we'll figure it out later on. I like what they did. I like it because they're going in a direction where I think the NFL is headed in terms of the run game being more prevalent, being more like teams need to be able to be more efficient running the ball. And if you don't have a guy and you think Jahmyr Gibbs fits perfectly, you go get him at 12.
I like it. I also just feel like Hendon Hooker is just Jared Goff went number 1 overall, and obviously he was not worth being number 1 overall years later, but he's good. He was good last year, and we say good where he's like top 15-ish. He's somewhere in that 15 to 13 range at his best. I think that's probably where Hendon is, and Hendon is a guy who can sit, and he's actually, it seems like, ahead of schedule with his ACL surgery and coming back there. And I think I think one of the things too that cracks me up is people really get on to Tennessee about their offense, and it's you call it, you're wearing the hat right now, JP, the Mickey Mouse offense. Here's the thing. These guys, Hendon Hooker especially, played in different offense already. He knows both. He is an extremely bright quarterback. He is someone who will learn another offense. It is not as though we like to, I just don't understand why people make it seem like you can't do that. And all these other players who come into the league playing all kinds of different systems. Like, it's only Tennessee that plays this different at the hash marks offense and that attacks in a totally different way. Like, Jalen Hyatt could never learn to be a better route runner in the NFL. He could never do this. He could never do that. Cedric Tillman played in 2 different offenses in the Jim Chaney offense, and Jalen Hyatt also started in that offense when they both got Tennessee. Josh Heupel came in after the fact. These guys can learn these different offenses. Like, Hendon Hooker got killed for this. And I'm like, the dude just excelled in one particular offense. He has traits that will translate. He's still going to be accurate with the football, with or without that Tennessee offense. He's still going to be really good at evading the blitz and getting the ball out quickly when he needs to. He's still going to be an extremely smart quarterback. Like, I think his floor is like Jacoby Brissett. Like, I think that's probably worst case scenario for Hendon Hooker. Best case is like a Jared Goff type or Kirk Cousins, where he's somewhere in that top 15, top 10 if everything goes right. I don't think he has Dak Prescott upside or those kind of mid-round guys who can really, really pop. But I do think he can be a really good quarterback in this league for a long time. People just love to rip on this Tennessee offense. Like, these guys can't learn or can't do that. Like, Patrick Mahomes is playing in the Texas Tech offense. He was far more air raid offense than what Tennessee even runs. Tennessee runs the ball all the time.
That is Patrick Mahomes. We cannot.
What was Wyoming running, JP? What was Wyoming running with Josh Allen?
Josh Allen development will probably never, ever, ever happen again.
What was Gus Malzahn running for Cam Newton? What was...
Sir, are you okay?
That is Cam.
I'm tired of the crusade against the Tennessee Volunteers' successful #1, mind you, offense in college football last year and top 10 the year before that. All he does is put together. It is not Josh Heupel's responsibility to play an offense that prepares. Like, Will Levis played in an NFL-friendly offense. Guess what? Will Levis stinks. Like, Hendon Hooker is going to be better than Will Levis in the pros. Like, we don't have to. Like, it hurts my soul. I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
I will not say more because I am of the belief that Tennessee Twitter is the people that got me kicked off of Twitter. So.
Well,
I'm going to hold it at this. I think the Tennessee offense is a good college offense, but there are a whole lot of things you probably can't translate to the NFL. Much like Oklahoma, there's a lot of stuff in the Oklahoma offense you cannot translate to the NFL. Baker Mayfield still not able to translate a lot of stuff to the NFL. For as much as we know, Kyler Murray still has a lot of growth to do as a pocket passer in the NFL, like in terms of reading out NFL concepts. So I think the Tennessee offense is a good college offense.
Not good, great. Maybe the best college offense. Yeah.
Sure. We'll call it what you wanted.
Who had a better offense last year, JP? Who has been more successful in the college ranks the last 2 years than Tennessee's offense? Who's been better? No one.
Scored 65 points in the national championship game.
Hold on. That's not better. It's not better. No, we're not doing this. We're not giving Georgia the
also scored 31 points on Tennessee.
I'm pretty sure the team that beat Tennessee to go to
13.
Hold on. It was in the rain. It was on the road. It was a little bit different.
I'm sorry. I didn't know if you asked. I didn't know if you asked who had the best offense in the rain, on the road, blah, blah. No, you asked who had the best offense. And I think the team that beat Tennessee with more points.
That doesn't mean anything. Their defense was better. Jalen Carter was in the backfield but when Hendon just breathed under center, it was over.
Their offense was better at scoring. Yeah, I think their offense was better at scoring points.
Tennessee's defense was around 60th nationally. Like, they weren't even good. The Tennessee defense wasn't good.
So you're saying that your offense needs He's saying that Tennessee has the best offense.
Yes.
If they're playing teams that have really bad defenses,
no,
that allow them to score a bunch of points. That's what you were saying. Because obviously this team had
Georgia's literally been the only team. Alabama couldn't stop them to save their life. They had guys go in the first and second round who Tennessee made look silly in the Alabama-Tennessee game.
God,
silly.
If only they could do
first
that in
and
the
second
game
round
that
picks.
mattered.
Will Anderson didn't get home once. Denell Wright just took him out of the game.
Tennessee needs to do it on a cold, rainy night in Stoke.
Right.
That's all
They did it in Vanderbilt. Not who goes into Vanderbilt and wins 56-0. I'm sorry. Florida couldn't do it. Kentucky couldn't do it.
I'm not saying Florida and Kentucky had good offenses. Florida's offensive design was very, very, very bad. Rich Cangarello was not a real coordinator. He was not good.
Oh, now you're speaking Evan's language right here.
Yeah, Rich Cangarello was not very good.
We don't need to say that guy's name. That guy's garbage. He's garbage.
Tennessee's offense is very good when it comes to college football. If you want a good college football offense, you can
run it in the NFL, you cowards. Put them on the hash. Let's see what happens. Why can't you run in the NFL? Why can't we put guys out wide like that?
Because everybody's just as fast. And the field hashes are a whole lot smaller.
Yeah.
So again, this is NFL college jump. In college, you are the best player out of like the state of America. You're best player in like your county. You might be the best player in your city. You get an offer, go to Tennessee. You play good. You go to the NFL. There are a whole bunch of dudes who are also the best player at University of Tennessee, but also best players at like Georgia In like Alabama, these are like 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Everybody is fast here. Like when you think about the combine and think about some of the guys that like even the slower offensive linemen, and then you go look at like when offensive lineman runs in like high school or college, those dudes are moving. Like when I was in high school, I played linebacker. I ran a 4.84 at my best. That's not getting me anywhere near the NFL or college as a linebacker. So again, with Tennessee's offense, it's just going to be very, very hard to translate that to the NFL because one, like I said, field hashes a whole lot smaller. Two, half the receivers aren't even running real routes. There's only one read on one side of the field. Everybody else is just jogging, taking water breaks, looking good for the cameras because they're not getting the ball. There are a whole lot more full field reads unless you're playing like for like the early Sean McVay offense and just bootleg. Everything's gonna be looking at a half field, but you only do that when you necessarily have to because your quarterback's not good.
But got him to the Super Bowl.
And the quarterback wasn't that great.
And he's now in Detroit where Hendon Hooker is, and he could run something similar and guide the Detroit Lions to the Super Bowl and do all of that with Hendon Hooker under center. It's just a great story. And Hendon Hooker, whomst among us does not want to see Hendon Hooker succeed and become an all-pro?
I just love his name. I just want Hendon Hooker to be successful in the NFL so I can keep hearing that name.
Double H.
Double H, yeah. Can we get a triple H, a little triple H situation?
Yeah, it could be. I actually don't know what his middle name is. I don't think it's
Harry.
We'll make it an H.
Yeah,
Henderson.
We'll make it an H. Just call him Triple H.
There you go.
He'd be a whole lot cooler if he just went by Triple H.
He's cool anyway. Hendon Hooker is always cool.
Triple H.
Last thing, real quick here. Let's settle it. Will the Rams be bad, Evan?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, of course. Did you not see the today what they announced?
What?
The Rams have announced a class of 24 undrafted free agents. That pairs with the draft of 14 rookies. So LA will now have a whopping 38 rookies on their roster as they look to fill out depth on both sides of the ball. This is going to be maybe the most drastic rebuild we've seen in the current NFL era.
They're going to be very, very bad because they're going to be starting maybe 7 to 8 rookies. Some of them might be undrafted. Some of those undrafted guys will probably start.
Puka's going to be awesome, by the way. Just go ahead and pencil that one in.
Do you guys think that Matthew Stafford's going to die?
Well, that's the whole thing is like if he's healthy, I don't know how with the NFC being as open as it is that they're that bad. Like
that offensive line still needs a whole lot of help.
Yeah.
On defense, that defense is Aaron Donald and 8 rookies and a player named Michael Hoecht, who is starting at outside linebacker.
Byron Young, I think, is going to start.
He's going to start opposite of him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna get real bad before it gets real good again.
Right.
Unless they just absolutely just hit rock bottom and they're able to take Caleb Williams next year.
But if they do that, then why is Stafford still a Ram? And why is Cooper Kupp still a Ram?
I mean, Matthew Stafford's 35, 36 years old.
Do you think he's good with it? Just riding out? I guess he's got his ring. But then you're like Aaron Donald. What are you doing, sir?
They've all hinted at retiring. Like,
how did Aaron Donald come back? How did they convince that?
I don't know. I have no idea. But I think after this year, I think Stafford, I think Aaron Donald's going to retire. I don't know what happens with McVay and Les Snead, but I feel like that core of guys are probably going to ride off into the sunset. Hey, we won that title. Whatever happened after that is just it's just the results of that. It's not our problem anymore. It's above me now. And then just go right off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Man. JP, what can the good folks check out from you over at sbnation.com this week?
Yep. So I have a couple of post-draft wrap-ups that I did today, including some draft classes that I liked, 2024 big board because I'm a sicko. Got a couple of cool things coming out, or one good thing coming out this week. Top free agents left. Outside of that, I'm just chilling, relaxing. I don't want to hear
well-deserved break.
I don't want to hear talk about football for a month. I'm gonna go to Galaxy's Edge and just sit in the Star Cruiser and just not.
So jealous. Hey, I can't stress this enough, man. I always like to shout you out. I think you're doing incredible work, but it's not just me, right? Friend of the pod, Mark Schofield, had a great tweet shouting out JP, talking about how good he's done. I've seen multiple people recently. Friend of the pod, Jarrett Bailey. It's well known how much you're crushing it, and it's good. It's great to see you thriving. As someone who watched it all happen over the course of the last few months with the draft, dog, you deserve it. Go to Galaxy's Edge and just chill out.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my phone on do not disturb and just leave me alone.
I mean, airplane mode is the life, man. You put your phone in airplane mode and you're like, oh, right, this is how we were supposed to live as human beings, was airplane mode all the time. This was actually the way to do things. Enjoy it, JP. Evan, thank you as always, my friend. Have yourself a great week in LA. Sunny LA. Get you, because it's like cold as hell here in Knoxville. Which
I mean, dude, it's been a little cloudy this week. It was super nice last week, but it sprinkled last night and was super cloudy the last 2 days. It's sunny right now. But like it's gonna be raining. I'm going to Seattle Thursday through Sunday.
Oh, so it's just gonna be a rainy week altogether for you.
I think Seattle's actually going to have better weather than LA is going to.
They knew you were coming.
I'm okay with it, man. It's the only, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, I saw Milo when we were driving to the Dogwood Festival on Saturday and sent you the picture, which cracked me up because Samantha was driving and I was sitting in the passenger seat and this dog just pokes its head out the window, JP. And it was just like, I've never really seen a dog that looks exactly like Evans ever out in the wilderness because he's a distinct looking dog. And I was like, what? Why would Evan be in Knoxville? There's no way Evan's in Knoxville. But it looked exactly like it. It's like I snapped a picture, but it's always fun to see another dog. You're like, oh, do I know that dog? Does that dog know me? Do I have any context for that dog?
You're like, tell your dad to hop on the pod so we can get together. No,
there you go. And we were going to the Dogwood Festival
I love that.
There you go. Evan Sowards, JB Acosta, thank you as always, and I'll talk to y'all next week.
Well done, nephew. Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.